Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Canty, and this is another episode of Living Enlightened Every Day. And today we're talking about your emotional sovereignty. What does that mean? That means keeping it together when it feels like things are coming at you. Emotional sovereignty is being able to be centered in your preferred state. For many of us, that's a gentle peace or a quiet joy, that state of just being right where we are, doing whatever it is we're doing, being with whoever we're with, and feeling centered and present, not letting anything disturb us. But life has an interesting way of coming into our life, right? It shows up. And it was really evident this week when I was walking my dog and I had one of my neighbors came out running and out of her driveway, moving very fast for a large woman. She was booking it. And she ran across the street and was yelling at one of the workers. The house was under construction and she's screaming, "Whose car is this? Whose car is this?" There was a car parked in the street. And this young man, I was so just watching all of this unfold. He was very calm and he's like, "It's the owners." And she yells, "Go get them and tell them they're blocking my way and I can't get out and I need to get out right away." And he just looked at her and he said, "Okay." He was not about to let her disturb he was just sitting at his truck, kind of doing something with his hands. He was like, "Yeah, I'll do that for you, even though you're screaming at me like a crazy person." So he went and got the owner. Now I'm walking around the corner with my dog and I see the owner kind of come out and she looks very distraught because she thinks someone's screaming at her and she's worried and nervous. Now her car was parked legally. There's nothing wrong in it. It didn't block the other lady's driveway. It did make it a little more difficult to get out. It just isn't normal, for that other lady. So the owner came out, moved her car, and the other lady, zoomed around the corner, screeching, going past me with my dog waving at me, of course. But you could tell she was still upset with this whole incident. So, what is that about? The woman whose driveway was in her mind blocked, it wasn't, but that was what her mind told her. And she treated the situation as if someone had done it on purpose. Because that's what our ego does, right? How dare someone do this to me? Don't they know that I have to get out of my driveway? Don't they know that this is difficult? Don't they know that this is an imposition on me? How dare they? And that was her attitude. And, sometimes maybe we park a little unconsciously, or we just don't think about what's around us. We're in a hurry. We're trying to put out, there's a toilet that's flooding or a sprinkler head that's burst. Whatever it is, we're parking quickly and doing what we need to do as well. And I'm not saying that there's fault or not fault, but there is what there is. There just is what there is. The lightning strikes a tree and it falls on your car. It is. There's no blame. There's no wishing or wanting it away. It's just what's happening. And being able to be with it without disturbing our center, without disturbing our ability to not raise our blood pressure, to not have that cortisol shooting through our body, to not tense, in the neck or the head, giving us headaches or other stressful things. These are daily stressors in our environment. And so, what got me thinking right away was that everything that needed to happen happened, right? The woman came out, asked whose car it was, asked if it could be moved. The woman who owned the car came out and moved it. and the other lady got to go out of her driveway in the simplest way possible. So all that happened, but it happened for the three people concerned. One in particular, the woman who thought this was being done to her, she she raised her blood pressure. She was screaming. Her morning in her mind, I have to imagine, was ruined from this event, but she continued the event in her body, in her languaging, in her the way she drove out of the neighborhood, which could have hurt somebody, because she was so upset about it. But let's think about it. The same thing, all those events could have happened with zero stress. And not only that, they could have happened with love and compassion. Imagine if you're in your home and you walk out and you see, oh, it's going to be a tight squeeze for me to get out, and that lawn man or that person fixing the sprinklers or the JEA, the electric authority person is, blocking my way a little bit, and it might make it difficult for me to back out of my driveway the way I normally do. Well, I'll just go over and ask, hey, do you mind moving your truck up a little bit or back a little bit so that I can get out easier? And in my experience, I've only found smiles. "Oh, I'm so sorry. Of course I will. I'll help you. Yes. How's this? If I move over there or move up here?" Or, you know, people don't want to inconvenience each other. That's not why he's parked there, right? And so everything could have happened. Going to ask whose car it is, the person going to find the owner moving the car, and everything could have been done not only without anxiety, stress, and negativity, and the all those things that are raising our blood pressure and shooting cortisol in our system, but it could have happened in love. Like those two women who are neighbors could have met. She could have said, "Oh, you're the owner. I'm so happy to meet you. I live right here. I'm sorry to bother you, but it's just a little more difficult for me to get out of my driveway." And of course, I now know the new owner. She would have said, "Oh, yes, let me move that right away for you." And that could have been a wonderful introduction. So when we go through life, we can see that there are so many ways of dealing with what is. There, we can be angry and upset. We can be judgmental and blaming. We can wish or want something away. We can think other people are being unconscious and how dare they do this to me? How dare they not think about everyone else? We can make stories up about it. We can. That's the way our mind loves to work in imagination. It loves to make up stories. It loves to see things. But what if we made up the story that this is an opportunity to meet my neighbor? This is an opportunity for me to experience and exude compassion. What if this is an opportunity for me to stay grounded in my emotional center of peace and love and joy? What if this is an incredible opportunity for me to expand in my ability to love my neighbor as myself? There's everything in between that, right? But let's choose, let's consciously be aware and choose how we speak to our neighbor, our literal neighbor, or just whoever happens to be coming into our life in this moment. And so later that week, I had an experience with the condo association where I own a condo where I have renters. My son is one of them. And there had been this ongoing leak outside in the hallway. And every time they call me up, they say, "We need you to reseat your toilet. We know it's your toilet." And I have to pay to reseat the toilet, fix that. And there is no leak. And the plumber's there, and the handyman's there, and the one of the board members is there. There's no leak. And, everybody's stumped because we all want this leak fixed, but it wasn't that. So I get a call a week later. We need to put a hole in your wall and see if it's in the shower area, which I knew it wasn't, but there was nothing I could do as they let me know. And so I said, yes. And they put a hole in the wall and they said, we'll have to come back and fix this. I said, no, you know what? It's okay. I think I'll just put a certain kind of patch that is very, and it's like $2.99, it's very inexpensive. And I put that there and I was happy with that. Didn't want to cause them any problems. We still don't know where the leak is coming from. Then they come in, they want to put another hole in the wall, which they did, and they can't find it. And then I get this horrible letter from the manager of the building, and she's writing how they're going to come in and do this other work and tear out my entire wall, and that it's my fault. And I mean, the letter is so aggressive and rude, and they're going to have the police there because they're saying they're saying I won't let them in. And I just sent her this letter, and I could tell you, my heart just went, what? Why would I get this letter? Because all I've done is say yes to whatever anybody's asked me about this leak. All I want is what they want, and that is this leak to be fixed and to determine where it's coming from. But with all the condos, it's very difficult to tell which condo it's coming from. So I sent her back a letter saying, all I've done is say yes. Why would you think I wouldn't be there? That time actually works for me so that I can be there. And she's like, well, then I'll cancel the police escort. It's like, yeah, why not? Why would you? It just made no sense. So everything happened. They came in. The leak it ends up being my responsibility, even though it wasn't in my unit. It was in the outside wall, a whole nother story. But it's okay. Everything that needed to happen happened. And it could have happened in love and compassion from both ends. I invited her. I said, you are welcome to come out and see this and be present. She chose not to. And it can happen like on that huge scale where we can get upset, we can get angry. I could have, I don't know what I could have done, but blown up and, gotten tense and had my cortisol and my stress levels raise up and clench and, headaches and all the things that we do when we're stressed out, which I didn't because I've trained myself not to go there anymore. It just doesn't serve me or anyone around me. And we have all those choices, every level of how we want to be. And we can choose to be in love while we're sending a notice that we have to enter someone's apartment. While I have been a landlord and been a manager of apartment buildings and things like that. So I know we can do this in love. I know that people get aggravated or upset when you're entering their space, but if it's legally required to check the what do you call it, water suppression, fire suppression systems, or whatever it is, there's a legal demand that the owners of the building take care of whoever's living in the units. And there's a way to do it in love and compassion, and there's a way to do it like you're always aggravated and upset. Well, which one serves you? Which one serves your body? Which one gives you emotional sovereignty where whatever is happening out there in the world, it doesn't have to affect what is happening in here, in this world? We are the king or queen of our world, and there is nothing that can happen that has to move us out of our, let's call it home, using this metaphor, right? This analogy. Let's just call it, nothing has to move us out of our beautiful sanctuary unless we allow it to. So in the first case, that neighbor, she allowed somebody's random parking to really upset her to a degree that was astonishing to everyone who witnessed it. It was it was bizarre. And it just is what it is. And of course, the woman who was trying to get out of her driveway, There had been construction going on for a long time. She could have let it build and let it upset her, but that is what is the construction workers, looking outside and seeing a building that isn't finished. I mean, it's not a thrill, but nothing wrong with it. It is a beautiful house being built, and the process of it being built looks messy. And maybe sounds, there's going to be hammering and nailing and roofing and trucks and generators, that's what is. Why are we going to let what is move us out of our sanctuary, our choice to be centered? And this is your reminder that whatever you have going on, it is, tax season. I've been shocked a few times, and I am again this year, of some taxes that are due. It just not expecting it, but it is. It is. And I can look at it, of course, I can question it. I can make sure I'm going over and that no one's made a mistake around it. That's perfectly reasonable. That doesn't have to move me out of my sanctuary. And I can just be with what is and trust that the universe has the money coming in. And again, we just had a stock market crash, and I was, like, calling my financial advisor going, I need some money for for this IRS bill that I wasn't expecting, and now the market's down and I have some other things going on. What does it look like, me paying this bill?" And, we were laughing just like this because this is what is. This is what has to be done. I'm getting the information as much as I can get it. And why would I let that move me out of my heart space? And it turns out the market went back up. I mean, anything can happen these days. And the money's there to pay those bills, to pay the extra IRS bills that I wasn't expecting. So that's that's the lesson for me that I've learned watching things happen, just unfolding. Some of them are little, some of them are big. I'm using some minor things, but there are big things. I often tell the story of when I got a diagnosis of stage 2 cervical cancer. And it was shocking because I was 25. I just didn't know I could get that. I just it was nowhere in my 25-year-old immature consciousness. And I'm traveling around the world and living in different cities and jumping in and out of relationships and in and out of careers. And was just running around like the crazy person that I am. And it was shocking. Well, we don't have to wait for something that is shocking to practice being in our center so that when the diagnosis comes, when the tree falls on the car or the house, which happened to a dear friend of mine, and the tree, during not even a hurricane, just a bad storm, an old oak just fell on the major part of their house while they were sleeping. Luckily, nobody was hurt. And that was, the huge blessing in all of it. But these are huge shocks to the system, and if we've been practicing handling the little shocks to the system, the people who cut us off on the freeway, the people who are rude to us for no apparent reason in our mind at the grocery store or at the farmer's market, whatever it is, we don't know what someone else is going through, and we don't have to be moved out of our center unless we choose to. And the choice may look like, well, he said this, so I had to say this back. Is that true? Is that really true that we have to retaliate? That we have to do or be the same manner that someone is giving us? Do we have to do that? Of course, we know the answer is no. We don't have to do that a little bit or at all. We can be so grounded that we can have somebody who's very, very, if you've had kids, this is possible. You can have somebody, whether they're a teenager or a toddler, very, very upset with you. And you don't have to move out of your center because you know that they're having a tantrum or they're experiencing something in their body, in their realm, in their reality that they cannot control. They cannot choose to stay in their sanctuary because I'm going to say their brain isn't developed, their emotional values haven't developed, their emotional abilities haven't developed, their mental abilities to understand the situation hasn't developed. And so we can, though, we can, no matter what is going on. So that's what I invite you to do this week is to really stay centered in your sanctuary and look at the opportunities that are coming up for you to remind you to do this. It might be the IRS bill that comes you weren't expecting. It might be something at work or in your family. And just breathe and give yourself some grace and give yourself the space to choose. Like, where do I want to be as I respond? I choose love, compassion. I choose centered in my sanctuary and allowing that inner wisdom and inner intuition to come through me to guide me in this situation, to say things that need to be said in a manner that those things can be heard. That's such a empowering place to be. So that's a challenge. I challenge you this week. Look for that and look for the opportunities and kind of play with that. Who's in your way this week and how can you be with them? Let's see. So I do this kind of work with my clients all the time. I love coaching people to be sovereign right where they are in their sanctuary and to live a life that is filled with love and compassion. I have the Living Enlightened Academy and several coaching programs within that. And I just love watching people find that beautiful center that is always available to them. It is like the eternal sun shining on the most incredible cloudy day you can imagine. And that's what we do together. We work together to know that and to be able to experience that in our lives. So I invite you to check out my coaching programs. And I always offer a free session. So I'll have that linked below. I hope you like this video. If you do, just hit the like button and subscribe. There's more videos coming up. Next week is an interview with 𝐤𝐸-𝐸. Oh my goodness. He is just an OG, one of the originals in the world of self-realization and transformation. So I hope you look for that next week, an interview with 𝐤𝐸-𝐸. Until then, please just laugh at whatever is going on. Love whoever shows up in your life and live enlightened. Stay in your sanctuary every single day.